Let's do this. It's a bargain blitz. I love 2D platformers. It's probably the genre I was most exposed to growing up. There's just something to be said for games that manage to be fun when the goal is often simply just moving from the start of the level to the end of the level. There's a lot of super fun, engaging games that manage to be fun with just that, and I think a lot of them deserve a shout out. There's a lot of games in this genre that qualify for a bargain blitz. Some that maybe you've never heard of, so let's go. First game. This is one you probably have heard of. Celeste is a 2D platformer about a girl that wants to climb a mountain, but all these haters are like, psh, you can't climb a mountain, you have anxiety. And then her anxiety is like, psh, you can't climb a mountain, you've got me. The story does stand out as something you'll actually remember after you beat the game. The characters are likable, and it takes a perspective you don't see in a lot of video games. Now, the real draw of this game is the platforming. This isn't really a puzzle platformer. There are times when you have to really think about how to tackle an area, but for the most part, it's just pure platforming. Celeste has this air dash move that she can combine with a wall climbing ability to dash around and climb some seriously awesome levels. There are some steep difficulty spikes in the endgame content, but it's reasonably priced, available on all major systems, and it's a really good game. 4 out of 5. Next game. My friend Pedro. I don't care if I already did a video on it. Not everyone saw it, so I'm bringing it up here. Pedro is a super cool parkour shooting 2D platformer that flows really well and makes it fun to just jump and fly around levels, leaving enemies in your wake. It's not perfect, but it's very fun. 3 out of 5. Next game. Membrane. Now this is a more relaxed puzzle platformer. You just need to get from point A to point B, but you can shoot these building blocks out your mouth and use them to traverse the level or shift the landscape to get across some difficult terrain. This game is fairly challenging, and I love the art style, and it's like 2 cents. 3 out of 5. Next game. Nidhogg. Some people won't even call this a 2D platformer, but I think it counts. It's like a pixelated fencing game where you gotta duel your enemy, and if you win enough times in a row, you'll get to the end. This one doesn't really have an interesting story mode or a ton of level variety, but the core game itself is very fun to play with friends, and this one is also like 2 cents. 3 out of 5. Last game. Little Nightmares. Now this one is spoopy. It's like if Tim Burton created a puzzle platformer. The movement itself isn't very engaging, which for me is usually pretty important in a platformer. And the puzzles are interesting, but the real draw of this game is the art style. The haunting ambiance that creeps throughout the entire game. Sometimes it's kind of subtle, like you see hints of things you aren't supposed to see. Sometimes there's something disconcertingly unhuman in your presence that causes you to fear for this little walking raincoat's life. Artistic style alone is worth the low price of admission here. 3 out of 5. Well, I hope I gave you platforming fans something to look into. If I had to rank these by favorites, the top 2 are really close, but I gotta give the top slot to Celeste, then my friend Pedro, and then probably Little Nightmares. These are the longest ones and the ones that I think you'll get the most bang for your buck. Now don't get me wrong, the other 2 are great, but just don't have as much content as the top 3. So please don't take this to mean the other 2 are bad games. Any games that make the Bargain Blitz list are good games. I'm recommending all of these. I'm just recommending some of them harder than others. Does that make sense? Cool. Well, with that, I'll see you guys next week.